Well, welcome back to another coffee and a chat. So I just want to take a couple minutes here to share something with you that is kind of going through my mind, and a memory that the Lord brought back to me because I believe He's trying to get my attention. Okay. And I like to share with you guys that process because I don't always get it right. And if you can learn from my mistakes, that's okay. And sometimes I do get things right. And if you can learn from that, if it can just be an encouragement to you or whatever, I just like to share that because I believe that a lot of the things that we go through in life, other people are going through something similar, and we can kind of help support each other by openly sharing the things that we're going through, that we're learning, and how God's moving. Okay, so today the Lord has reminded me about an incident that happened many, many years ago. At the time, my first husband and I, we were living out in the country because I love the country. I am not a city girl, not at all. And anyways, we lived kind of out a little bit, and on the weekends, it was not uncommon for our kids and our grandkids, our grandkids were little then, but they'd bring their kids and their friends, not the little kids' friends, but, our adult children had friends that they would bring with them, and they would just come out and camp out at our place on our property for the weekend. And so when that happened, the house would be upside down. People were really good about being in the kitchen all day long, all night long, cooking, baking cookies or cooking steaks or whatever they were doing. They weren't always so great about cleaning up after themselves, but I didn't care because honestly, I just was so thrilled to have my family around me. I love my kids. I love my grandkids, and having them around was always a great joy of mine. Now I live really far from them, and I don't get to do that like that anymore. But that, it's okay. It was hard in the beginning, but it's okay. Because everybody, some of my grandkids have kids now. I'm a great grandma too. So I don't know. There's a lot of them. I don't know if I'd have a home big enough to handle everybody. But anyway, this was a Monday morning, and I was waking up after one of the weekends of kids and their friends and their kids, and, and just having had a huge house full and all the activity that went on with it. My house was in shambles. There were movies pulled out where they'd been watching videos and going through them. There were photo albums out that they'd been going through. There were towels piled up in the bathroom from people taking showers. There were dirty dishes all throughout the kitchen from people eating and cooking. It was upside down. There were I had, I always had throw blankets or whatever around, and there were blankets and pillows pulled out from where kids had slept on the floor or on a couch. The yard was pretty well picked up because they did sometimes just pitch tents out there or whatever. But, however, they all managed to make it work. All right. So I wake up to a house that's upside down. And after a weekend like that, that's usually what my Monday mornings would be like. And yet I heard the Lord speaking to me, and I knew, because He was pretty clear, that He was, Angie, you need to get up and get your house in order, because this lady and her daughter, they're going to drop by today, and I need you to minister to them, and you're going to want the house cleaned up before they get here. So I was like, okay, it's really early though, so I've got plenty of time. I can do this. So I got up, and I was pretty tired. And, I went and got the towels and stuff picked up out of the bathroom and kind of picked it up, got the laundry started, and went to the kitchen and unloaded the dishwasher and loaded it up with another load to run, and kind of wiped down a few things, but there was still more dishes that needed to go through the dishwasher. And, I could have done them by hand, but I'm like, I'll let the dishwasher do the work for me, so I kind of got that started, but not really cleaned up all the way. Kind of didn't really pick up much of anything in the living room yet, because I'm like, I just got to pick up pillows and blankets and straighten out the furniture and run a vacuum, and maybe dust a little. It'll be fine. It won't take long. And so I didn't feel in a rush, but I kept hearing the Lord saying, you need to take care of this. All right, so then I'm like, okay, but I've got to go to the grocery store to replace all the groceries that got eaten up this weekend, and I needed to run by the post office, and I need a couple other errands needed to be run. So I'm like, I'll just go do that this morning yet, because this woman, she's probably working today anyway, so she probably won't be here till later this afternoon or this evening, so I've got plenty of time. Even though I had no idea why she was coming by or whatever, I just knew that the Lord told me she was going to show up and that I was to minister to her. So I'm just assuming she's having a normal day too, and and her kids in daycare and all that stuff. So I go to town and I get everything done that I need to do, and then I come back, and that took a few hours. So I come back and I'm putting stuff up, and then I'm and I hear the Lord again, you need to go ahead and take care of this. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't even eat breakfast and I'm hungry. I'm going to go ahead and fix some lunch, it'll be fine. So I'm eating my lunch, I turn the TV on and I kind of get caught up into some show or something and lose track of time. And so now an hour or 2 hours has gone by, and I'm like, yeah, I still have plenty of time. And, and the Lord's still going, Angie, you need to take care of this. And so then I'm like, oh, I had some stuff to do in my office, some bookkeeping that I was going to do for this guy. It didn't need to be done right then. I mean, I had plenty of time, and he wanted me to run some profit and loss sheets for him. And I used to love, well, I still do love bookkeeping. I love playing with numbers and doing all that. So that was like something I was like, I'd really enjoy that. I know that's what was really going on in my mind. So I go into the office and I start doing that, and I'm caught up in it. And now I'm not really hearing God say anything much anymore. So I just kind of, blow it off, and I just keep doing what I'm doing. And then I hear a knock on my door, and I'm like, well, that's odd, because I didn't hear the car drive in. And like I said, we're out in the country and usually heard everything. And I think I had probably had music playing while I was working on the books and stuff. And so I was like, because it's not like you got a next door neighbor right across the road or anything that's just going to, everybody was several acres away. So nobody's just going to walk over. So I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. So I go to the door and I open it, and there's that lady and her daughter. I just hadn't heard the car, because there it was. I'm sure was distracted by everything else. And I'm standing there in the doorway to a very messed up house. Everything in chaos where they're coming into. And yet I knew that the Lord sent them, and that I needed to minister to her, and she was going to have to come in, tell me what was going on, and so I would know what God wanted me to do and everything. So I kind of tried to make a few jokes about it and laugh it off, and anyway, and invite her into a messy house, push some of the laundry aside on the couch so there was a place for her to sit down. Yeah, it was bad. And so, and I've had embarrassing moments like that since, especially now it's likely to happen because, I've had some bad health days and not everything's gotten done, and I've got mobility issues, and I can't keep up with things like I used to be able to, and so a lot of things kind of get pushed aside, and I try to get to it, but it's not always a good situation. And so it's not like that's the only time that ever happened, but that day, the woman came in. It bothered me. I don't even think, because she was in a tragedy that was really, I don't think she cared less about my house, but I did. And the Lord had been telling me, if I just would have paid attention and not been making excuses, because I really wasn't in the mood to take care of it, and I thought I had all the time in the world, so I was procrastinating. Well, she was there for a couple of hours, and then she left. And when she left, I had to really just repent before the Lord, because I did not take him seriously like I should have. I did not get on it. And he was very urgent in telling me, you need to do this and you need to do it now. Now, the reason that I'm sharing this with you and why this came up this morning is God is reinforcing some things to me. See, for a while now, the Lord's been speaking to me about, Angie, you need to get your house in order. He's kind of been talking to Marvin about it too. Not just the physical house, but our spiritual house. Okay, Marvin and I both have had that. So we've really been, both of us, trying to press in deeper with God and be, make sure that we're giving him his time, and that we're working on our relationship with him, and giving it the priority that it should always have. And so we've been doing that, but God has also been dealing with us about our physical house. Okay, so he's told us some very specific things. Now, one is he's about to do something. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be big. And we're starting to figure out some of it, because things are kind of starting to unfold. We've been kind of blindsided by a couple things. And when those things, and I can't share them yet. One of these days I'll be able to, but we're kind of in the middle of some stuff that I can't share. But it's like, at first I'm like devastated. Oh no, this is bad. This is bad. But then God's showing us how he can use this for our good, and that maybe it's not so bad. And he's really been working with our hearts and dealing with us on some things. So the specifics is we need to simplify our life. Both of us. We need to simplify it. Inside the house and outside the house. We need to downsize. We've got so much stuff. We've got stuff from my life. We've got stuff from his life. We've got stuff from my mom and dad's household, from my grandparents. I mean, we've got so many people's stuff that sometimes it can just feel like suffocating. And it's time to let things go. So I've been letting a lot of things go. Marvin's been letting things go. And so if something isn't serving a purpose, if it's not helping us do what we need to do in life, if it's just sitting there getting dusty, it's time to let it go. There's a few things that we're attached to, but it's like, when you've got a collection of something, we don't need the whole collection. So we'll just keep like one or two of our favorite pieces, 3 at most, and everything else goes. Some things are being donated. Some things are being sent to kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews and whatever. Some things are going to the dump. It's everything is finding where it needs to go. And there's some broken things that we've been hanging on to that we were going to fix, and it's like we're not going to, and we need to just let it go. So there is that cleaning out that's going, and the simplifying of our life, not just downsizing, but the simplifying, some deep cleaning that really needs to be done, because I lost so many months last year of not being able, I was just not even able to really walk or anything. In fact, the knee that's been giving me so much grief, there was a pop in it early this morning, and it feels much better. Like something that wasn't in place has moved back where it belongs, after more than a year. So, God's preparing us for some stuff, but we also know we're older, that we don't have the energy and the ability to do everything we used to have. And so, we need to accommodate our lifestyle for that, and we need to be more realistic about some things. So God's doing a get your house in order thing with Marvin and I now. And so when God reminded me of that story today, and how I just kept putting it off, thinking I had all the time in the world, because he's been telling me, you don't have all the time in the world. When this happens, it's going to happen fast. And what he's doing is, it's good, even though it may look bad. It is good. It's going to be okay. So it's like, there's some things that need to be dealt with, things that we have procrastinated on, things that we have put off. And now God's saying, nope, now you've got to deal with it now, because there's not a bunch of time left where it's just going to sit around and you can just get to it when you get to it. You need to deal with it now. So that's what we're doing. And I'm sharing all this with you because I don't know if God is telling you to get your house in order in some place in your life. Maybe he's telling you urgently that somebody's coming and you need to minister to him. Because I always find that just amazing how I'll know he's saying, so-and-so is going to drop by today. And so you're going to want to be ready for him. And then that person drops by, and it's like, wow, God really doesn't set us up to fail. He doesn't put us in positions where we're caught off guard. We just don't pay attention to what he's saying. And then when we do hear him, if we do listen to him, so often we'll put it off and be like, well, there's lots of time. There isn't lots of time. And he's reminded me today that there are changes that are taking place in the world right now and more to come. Big changes. And his children need to be ready for him. So if you're a child of God, you need to be ready for the changes, because life is not going to be the way we thought it was going to be. And that's another thing that he's really been showing Marvin and I. We've had an idea, at different times in our lives, that here's what we're going to do, here's how it's going to go. And then God's like, but that's not how it's going to be. It's going to be different than what you think. And sometimes we plan for a future that doesn't look like what we expect it to look like. And God's trying to prepare us for what really is coming. So there are things coming in your future. Just because you live on this planet, there are changes coming. And the only way you're going to be ready and prepared and able to face them, the only way any of us are, is if we're listening to God and acting on the things he tells us to do, because he will tell you what you need to do. I mean, even as I'm going through cupboards and drawers and stuff, okay, Lord, what should I keep and what should I let go? And it's like, I'm already feeling like, wow, there's a whole area there that just was collecting dust with stuff sitting on it. And now it's been cleaned out. And everything is where it needs to be or moved out of the house. And you know what? I was dreading doing it, but I'm finding it kind of liberating. So there are changes coming to Marvin's in my life. There are changes happening in our household even now. And it's just a matter of listening and obeying. So I want to encourage you to really listen to the Lord and obey what you hear him telling you need to do, because there is change and it will affect you. Whether you believe in God or not, that is a given. It's the days we're living in. So I hope this encourages somebody and maybe gives you that final, some people that have been kind of teetering on the edge of, is God really talking to me or not? That you'll understand that yes, he is. And you will do what you need to do. All right? And it is urgent. It's not something that we can put off. It needs to be dealt with now. And I think that a lot of what Marvin and I are going through has to do with that, and teaching us to trust him, so that even when things look bad or look scary or whatever, like the disciples when they were in the boat with Jesus and the storm kicked up and it was so scary to them and so frightening, and they thought all was lost. And so they got upset with Jesus because he's sleeping through the storm. How could he sleep? And all he did was get up and like, what are you worried about? And then he just goes, be still. And it all went peaceful and calm once more. That's the God we serve. We get all worked up. We get all worried. But all we need to do is trust him, because he does have it under control. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you again real soon, okay?